Hey everybody, it's Carm here, and back on a Sunday spring afternoon. Try to do this outside, but it's getting a little windy, a little noisy, so could get a little noisy in here with her, but yeah, wanted to come on and say hi and catch up a little bit. It's been a little while. Hope we're all as well as possible, and yeah. Just want to, I want to start in by thanking a couple of people. I'd received something recently which I don't remember ordering this. It looks like something I'd order, but someone kindly sent this my way. So thank you for watching. My spirit animal here, someone must have known. It's a notebook or a journal. Yeah, notebook. You can make a journal out of it or whatever. Whatever you please, and yeah, it's a real nice surprise. Yeah, I don't remember ordering this unless I was sleepwalking or sleep cyber shopping or what have you. But thank you if you're watching, anonymous person. But it's much appreciated. And yeah, I'll share something else I just received a couple days ago from the great DJ Trish, as ever spoiling us and just always thinking of everyone. Yeah, several times a year she just just out of the goodness of her heart just sends stuff out to people. Very kind. And a little note here. Usually doesn't mind if I read these aloud. Dear Carm, it's been a while since I've sent you any mixes. So I don't know, it feels like it was just the other day. Everything's flying by so fast. But, I hope this package finds you well. Included is a mellow jazzy mix and 2 all over the place mixes. No shock there, huh? Also more stickers to keep or give to friends. Enjoy them all. Peace, love, and music. Trish. So, thank you. Again, just thinking of us is more than enough, and that's greatly appreciated. Yeah, so as ever, some great stickers here. I think half of what's on my fridge is stuff from her, and then just everything else, everything that up by magnets and blazing visuals. I've seen these before, and of course her. See, I told you the noise from Mina. What you doing? Yeah, with her information on here. You can contact, learn more about her, and her channel and everything is on here. Yeah, WordPress and yeah. Some of these are new to me. Claricio Music Center. I had known about this one. I think this is for the for the cheese shop. She's told us about before. Beach Life. Yeah, she's right there on the Jersey Shore. Yeah, shop small. Yeah, Trish, I need to keep catch up with your videos. I know she makes videos, especially. It's really fun around this time of year when the seasons are changing, and she kind of shows the transition around her area. When the flowers are first coming up and everything, along that area, it's like a ritual, yearly ritual. Double teacher feature. That's neat. A little boombox there. It's new to me to look at that. And Mon Alyssa. So very fun as always with these. And got some tunes here as ever. Cocktail Hour 2023. Yeah, looking at this, there's great array as always here. Looks like a lot of really fun for some evening spins. Kind of almost like a soundtrack to that. Yeah, you have Bill Evans and Enya on the same mix. That's very neat. My favorites, Dave Brubeck, Martin Denny, Les Baxter, Nina Simone, Kamasi Washington. Yeah, very nice. Oh yeah, and here's more of her information there. Yeah, if you don't know her channel and everything, definitely pay her a visit. For those new here. And I got a couple series here. Eclectic Grooves at 23, number 1 and 2. Very fun, personalized here. Groove on, Carm, groove on. And these have, I love this too. It's her, yeah, the way they're all, personalized and different. The way she makes these CD mixes. She's been doing for a very long time. I know, she's spoken of her mixtapes too, and shown those. Yeah, Burning Spear, Paul McCartney and Wings, Charlie Parker, Jackson 5, Martin Denny. All together. She makes sure that they all occupy the same area on these. People you wouldn't hear all together, she, and then some. Yeah, Klezmatics, Les Baxter, Sarah Vaughan, The Sunrays, George Harrison, Daft Punk, all together. So yeah, thank you so much for these, Trish. Yeah, a lot of fun. Well, fun for the season too. For the transition of the season. And yeah, thank you so much for these. And what I want to do here is kind of a seasonal spin thing, in a way. I was thinking about how I've mentioned WNUA before, the station that I discovered at my aunt's house during one of the spring holidays of 1988. I was 12 years old and a 6th grader, and I just never heard anything quite like it before. She had it playing through this kind of intercom system she had at the time. I guess high tech for that point in the 80s. And I had the radio playing through it so you could hear it in any room of the house. And I just loved what I was hearing. Most of it was instrumental, keyboard based, it seemed, maybe a little bit of saxophone, but it was just really evocative, and it just spoke to me. Again, being that young, it just it was like something I was searching for and didn't know what it was, or didn't know I had been searching. I've been thinking of the term liminal lately, as far as how to describe this music in general. I mean, it's not, there's been so many labels. I was talking to a friend about it recently. You hear terms like, new age and smooth jazz, fusion, adult contemporary, all kinds of things, and many more. But I've always said what I most appreciate and what I'm most drawn to in music, in the broadest sense, is music that's in between the cracks, that's beyond easy classification, and that you really don't want to call it anything. You just want to allow it to be what it is, to wash over you and just lead you somewhere new. And yeah, so I just kept thinking of this term liminal space for just it's kind of in between something, and has that kind of ambiguous quality, I guess. And yeah, so I want to, since it's been now, 35 years since first discovering that station, which was just really life-changing. I mean, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing videos like this if it weren't for that. I'd be interested in possibly something else, or would have gotten into it all later. But it really came from that station, and it just branched out into everything I got into over the last, since then. And I'd already been kind of doing it to an extent anyway over the years, through the videos, sharing this music. But I want to maybe pinpoint as far as certain themes and certain specific artists and groups, this spring and summer, as much as I'm able to, and can kind of get it together for a video. But I figure for this time I'll just I'll concentrate on a lot of what I've been revisiting lately happen to be duos. Just two artists collaborating, maybe with other musicians playing with them, but it's mainly the vision of two people. And yeah, I'll just start with that. And just a few things here. You know, it'll unfold into other, you know, more specific, you know, profiles of artists and everything. But I'll start with what I have in the background very lightly. Night Noise, Billy Oskey and Michael O'Donnell, American musician and Irish musician, went on to form the band, or it grew out of this, the band Night Noise, which had they played together for, I think, quite a while throughout the 80s and 90s. But this was I think really their first coming together was with these two musicians. Yeah, Billy plays a variety of things: violin, viola, piano, harmonium, and Michael O'Donnell plays guitars, whistles, piano and harmonium, and joined by Tommy Thompson on bass and a cricket itself. And yeah, fairly early on Windham Hill label. And this was something, you know, I would have heard at that time. You know, WNUA played, again, all kinds of things that weren't really, you know, easy to pinpoint. And of course this has, you know, the very strong Celtic influence, as well as, you know, some jazz and even a little bit of classical. It has a kind of, you know, wistful melancholy, a blending of that, as well as something, you know, more optimistic and upbeat, not necessarily always in tempo, but in general tone, you know, of the melodies and harmonies and their interplay. I always like that mix, you know, when you have the, you know, the melancholy and the optimistic, which is, well, how I am, basically. You kind of find you find it yourself in the music in a sense, and again, from an early age, you know, it resonated right away. But yeah, if you could hear it a little bit, it's you know, you have that almost kind of a cinematic quality, without sounding too cliched like a movie. But yeah, I just really like how it kind of sits in between those styles and approaches. The songs here, originals from them. Yeah, the group got a little bit larger over the years and added instrumentation. But really neat hearing the you know, the kind of paring down early on and how they were sort of finding their way. From everything I've heard, this is probably still just about my favorite, because it was kind of at the beginning and the roots. This particular, I don't actually have the CD playing. I had it in the other room, but I have it playing off of, if you know, my pal Gary, Cosmic Pickle. He uploaded this video, or this album in full. You'll find it on his channel. So if you want to listen first before getting the CD or the record, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, if you like Celtic music, and again, music that kind of goes across that spectrum of, definitely look into it. Yeah, Night Noise by Billy Oskey and Michael O'Donnell. A group I've been revisiting lately, and was reminded of it from a dear friend Shannon, who many of you know. She was writing some reviews. I was catching up with some of her reviews on Rate Your Music. She has a lot of reviews on there, and wonderful going through and finding out her own history of you know, what she's loved over the years and gotten into, and you know, kind of an ever-changing you know, list and approach, and it's been wonderful. But this group she reminded me of, and I hadn't really even thought of them in such a long time, and it's Everything But the Girl. This album is called Worldwide, from 1991, and yeah, she's been getting into them very deeply, and it's really you know, inspiring, you know, seeing how she's just getting into them so much. And this is a group that I was into at least 30 years ago. I mean, this is something that played a lot on WNUA. Actually, the album they made before this, from 1990, at least half of that album was played on WNUA, quite regularly. And here they are here. Yeah, it's Tracy Thorn vocals and Ben Watt on guitar, keyboards, and vocals, and compositions. Lyrics and music split between the two of them, and again, something that's really difficult to define. I mean, it's pop in a way, it's rock. You have jazz influence. I would almost say, and I don't mean this to sound, some people think of this term as being demeaning, but maybe even a slight lounge vibe, but really in the best sense. I mean, not in like the cliched or people think of lounge, it's almost like self-parody. This is like a modern day kind of a, you could say sophisticated, but a lounge that's appealing and very appealing across a wide spectrum, but also very creative and and quite varied. Really varied from album to album. Having a great time revisiting them, and also going back further to things I hadn't heard, and things that had come out since. And I believe they're coming out with a new album for the first time in almost a quarter century. So that's very inspiring, just finding that out. But yeah, I'm still exploring, re-exploring, and it's been wonderful. Yeah, so thanks again, Shannon, for reminding me of them, and yeah, report back soon on further findings and revisiting. But this is definitely a group I'd recommend, especially if you're coming from pop rock perspective, and you want to branch out further, because even later on in the 90s they got into stuff that was more like variants of techno, house music, and all of that. A lot of stuff I didn't even really explore a great deal of, but they made it work. Whatever style they seemed to have tried out, never sounded awkward, or it was a seamless blend, and that's really a testament to them and their creativity and originality. So yeah, everything but the girl, definitely recommended. And some old favorites of many years, mentioning what I learned of from WNUA was musical starstreams, of course, and that took me way out into the stratosphere and other planets, and just a whole other way of thinking about art in general, even beyond music. The R. Carlos Nakai and William Eaton, their album Carry the Gift. I've covered that one before. This is a little bit later. That one was from '88, I think. This is from 1992. R. Carlos Nakai here on flutes, and William Eaton on various stringed instruments, hand built, designed himself, the guitars and the compositions and improvisations between the two of them. Even with primarily acoustic music, it sounds just as spacey in a sense, ethereal as it is earthy, and very much say naturalistic. Yeah, they blend those beautifully, and it expands even more so than on the earlier collaborations, just going into these just these broader areas. And they also have the Black Lodge Singers on here, kind of more traditional chant, Native American chant, adding further textures and just aspects of the music overall. And yeah, their music made me appreciate and want to find out about other parts of the world, even beyond North America, South America. Because you could hear so many other little influences very subtly. It kind of points to other things as well, and it was just always exciting to get into. And both artists I've become fans of subsequently over the years. I must have just about all of Art Carlos's solo albums, solo flute, unaccompanied, and quite a few of William Eaton's collaborative albums as well. And my good friend and sister Ambi, I know she's a fan of his as well, Art Carlos. Yeah, and the thing too with this music is it's very soothing, without being. If it is soporific, it's in the best sense. It truly does. You can't help but slow down when you're hearing this. You want to slow everything down. Your thoughts, your actions. Taking the time out to just absorb yourself and be absorbed in the moment. This music definitely aids in that, and collaboratively and separately, they've done this for many years. So, yeah, Art Carlos Nakai and William Eaton. Another one that goes back those early days. Enchantment, Chris Virus and Paul Vodoris. They go back, I think, really back to the 70s, maybe around 77 or 78. They've been collaborating since they were very young. Yeah, Chris is here and Paul is here, of Greek ancestry. And their early stuff was more in a kind of a straight-ahead folk, kind of singer-songwriter folk music vein. And they did an album called Passages, I think around 1982. I think it's called Passages, which is very ambient, very spacey, very Starstreams, Hearts of Space, deep, dark ambient. I don't think they ever really made anything like that as a whole. And they made a few other collaborations. This one, though, I feel is the most representative of both of them in a wider sense. All the different shadings of mood and styles between both playing keyboards and guitars. My favorite cut on here is Pura Vida, which was one that was played a lot on NUA as well as Starstreams. Either way. Sunday Soundscapes was another program, which was kind of somewhere in between there. Again, fitting into that kind of lighter, jazzier approach and the more spacey stuff from Starstreams. It would play it from, I think, mid-morning on Sundays till about early to mid-afternoon for several hours. But this is something that played on there quite a bit. But it's really, if you want to get into either artist, solo-wise, this is a really good place to start. And I think it's from early 90s, 1991. So in some ways kind of a prime time for that sort of thing, these sort of blends. But yeah, Chris Virus and Paul Vodoris. I think Chris to this day lives in Sedona. He's been there for many years, and got to see him one time back in '98 with my friends who I visit out there. And yeah, it was real nice. Quite different than the records, more rock oriented, which you could hear a little bit on here as well. But yeah, kind of going back to the roots. Yeah. Enchantment by Chris Virus and Paul Vodoris. In a group here that might not be thought of as a duo, I tend to think of them because these two are, I think, the most prominent in the music. That's Mannheim Steamroller. This is Fresh Air 3, 1979. It's made up of Chip Davis, who's the composer, really composes just about all the music, and also plays drums and recorders, flute recorders, and Jackson Berkey on various keyboards. You have Chip here and Jackson here. Everything from electric and acoustic piano, all kinds of synthesizers, to a harpsichord and clavichord. So really running the gamut. And they've had other members in the group like Eric Hansen on bass, Ron Cooley on guitars. It varies people, but I think it really comes down to the dynamic between the two of them, compositionally and instrumentally. And this is really fun. This has kind of a Renaissance feel to it. a mixture of rock and classical from that period, Baroque and Renaissance. Very much imagining them in the woods. This is, even though it's springtime, this is their summer themed release, and but you could really play it at any time, and it takes you right there. But and I think Chip himself has referred to this as 18th century rock and roll, or eclectic something. I forget the rest of the term, but yeah, again, it exists kind of between the cracks of various styles, and easy classification. And I know I'd heard them pretty early on too, around 91. They were played on that station quite a bit, and yeah, they're best known for their Christmas albums. Me personally, I like everything they did up until about 83, 84, and beyond the Fresh Air series is my personal favorite. But I think the earliest stuff is the most I find the most compelling and evocative and innovative. But yeah, it's a really fun one here. Yeah, Fresh Air 3 by the duo of mainly the duo of Chip Davis and Jackson Berkey. I'm saving a couple. Well, one of these, nearly the best for last, or one of my very favorites. But this is another one that's got played on NUA. I call it NUA. I know it's WNUA. Got played on that station all the time, and that's Checkfield. Water, Wind, and Stone from 1986. Just a couple fellows here. Ron Satterfield and S. John Archie. Both play keyboards and guitars, and yeah, they were played on that station all the time. You could hear so many influences in the music, music from all over the world. A little bit of Spanish, like South American, as well as even European Spanish, or Latin in general, but also bits of traditional jazz, as well as kind of everything else in between. Really kind of found their own style. Even when you think of formats, radio formats, certain kind of music has that, trying to that almost like kind of retrofitted into that, depending on the format. Some groups had that made this kind of music, and there were moments there, but I think for the most part they had their own pretty distinctive sound. The use of vocals were more instrumental than anything else, kind of blending into the overall soundscape of what they were doing on keyboards and guitars, as well as the use of strings, which gave it kind of a little more of a classical feel, kind of alluding to Mannheim Steamroller, who they share the same label with, American Gramophone. So you could hear a little bit of it on there, but just a really beautiful, evocative record. Really, everything they do to me sounds like this time of year, especially the transition, winter into spring and spring into summer, but mainly spring. And yeah, I would recommend just about anything by them. And another example of these two artists coming together and making something that really does sound like it came from one person in a way. Something about when you have two artists that do have, however different they may be, they somehow find something. I'm thinking of something. There's a group called AMM, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. They were mainly a trio, but one of the members in an interview was saying they felt like they were a quartet with an invisible member, because it's like they have the three of them as individuals plus the group itself made for. I think of with a really good duo, it's kind of like that. It's really like a trio with an invisible member, because you have those differences and those similarities coming together in such a way that you have that kind of third element, which is the group itself, the sound itself. Whether it's just the two of them or they have additional musicians, that vision sounds like there's something else there, almost like a phantom, maybe like a phantom artist in a sense. I don't know. But yeah, I just find that really really appealing about the two coming together. So yeah, but yeah, this is gorgeous. Very very upbeat, but it has that melancholy at times too. It comes through, but it's inspiring. It doesn't bring you down. At least I find. But, yeah. So, Checkfield, Water, Wind, and Stone, 1986. And finally here, bringing saving the best for last, and probably one of my all-time favorite, if not my all-time favorite, twosome. And again, mentioning Shannon before, I know she's a fan, and as well as Ambi, and yeah, Pat Metheny and Lyle Mays. Yeah, one of the great. You think of all the great, twosomes in music. You could think of, Lennon, McCartney, Simon Garfunkel, whoever else. I mean, I think what they did together over the course of, I think it went from about 77 till 2007 or so in the group, the Pat Metheny group, so about 30 years. And of course Lyle sadly is no longer with us, but what they did together compositionally, instrumentally, was just so symbiotic, and always something brimming, so deep, such depth from the both of them. And this album really, even beyond this, it culminated, but this was really, so powerful. The first time I heard it, As Falls Wichita, So Falls Wichita Falls. An all-time favorite cover here, as well as both sides of this. And joined on here by Nana Vasconcelos, berimbau, percussion, drums, and vocals. But from the very beginning, I mean, you want to talk about indefinable and, music that exists in the sort of liminal spaces of the title cut, which takes up the whole first side. Starting in almost sounding like some kind of a slow motion processional, maybe even like a parade of some sort, but very surrealistic, like a parade out of a dream, where things are coming out very slowly. You're noticing things slowly, but eventually picks up in pace, and then everyone kind of clears out, and then you're just left with a few people, kind of wondering where they're at, and how to find their way through. But they're enjoying it. They're kind of enjoying this ambiguity of this environment. And then it's almost like, as cliched as it sounds, it really does feel like the mothership comes maybe about a little past the halfway point in the piece, where for the most part it's all Lyle on synthesizers, and I'd say it's even more fitting than you think of the Close Encounters of a Third Kind, that music. I think this evokes it even more so. But again, you're coming through the other side of that processional, that parade, and it's just yeah, it's so powerful and so evocative, and it takes me away every time. And I've enjoyed this for a good 30 years now. And then you go to the second side, Ozark, and it's just like a completely different world. You're now traveling through open roads and wheat fields, and you're just you're buoyed up by the whole the optimism. You're traveling, you're moving, and you're just just looking forward to what's coming next. Very acoustic. Hearing the two of them together, just exploring their instruments and one another, their own creativity. It really is like a conversation, but not one that you're sort of shut out of. You feel invited, very much beckoned by what they're saying together. September 15th, dedicated to Bill Evans. One of the most beautiful pieces I've heard from either one of them. Takes its time, very slow, slowly evolving chords from Lyle, and Pat on, sounds like nylon string guitar. Just very straight ahead melodies, but very so from the heart, and such a loving tribute to an artist that's inspired so many people, Bill Evans, and just gorgeous. It's For You is one of my favorite pieces from the whole catalog of Pat and or Lyle, the group. It's just so much variety there. It goes through so many different moods and scenes, really, and yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. I can't even find the words for it. Again, you hear I use the term melancholy optimism a lot, and that's, you hear it in that piece. There's a nice blend of that, but it's more on the optimistic, more on the, we're excited to explore, and just reveling in life itself, the little things. That's what it sounds like it's exploring. It's appreciation for all the things we love. You hear it all culminating in that one song, and then you have Estupenda Grace, Amazing Grace, their version with Nana kind of singing a lead vocal, and so much passion, like it's being wrung out of him. A great introduction to him as well, and just they kind of take it out with that. But just an example of just these again, two people really playing as one, almost like hearing like that third element, or even with Nana, maybe the fourth, again the trio with an invisible member. But just one of the greatest collaborations, whether on an album or, again, as far as their whole overall time together. So and more further on both these artists and the group. I'm definitely going to go further into it, but Pat and Lyle, another dynamic duo if there ever was one. So just want to share some of that. Again, going back to the roots of this music, and what it's meant to me over the years, and hopefully more to come sooner than later. Again, there's so much to share and so much to go into. It's just a matter of focusing. Sort of having a little trouble with as far as one thing or another to highlight. But well, thank you all for being here. Thank you again, Trish, and for everything as always, and to the anonymous person who sent me this. It's much appreciated. Great fun. So So for Mina and I, who's finally resting, she was getting into everything during this time. Again, hope we're all well. Thank you for being here, and till the next one. Peace, love, and joy.